Welcome to Your Candidates, a production of the Claremont Community Media Center. I'm your host, Kevin Tyson. The goal of our show is to introduce candidates in upcoming elections to the local electorate here in Claremont. Today, we have the honor of speaking with Lily Tang Williams, who is running for Congressional District 2, House of Representatives. Lily, welcome to our show.
Well, thank you for having me. This is my first time here. It's my pleasure to be here.
Welcome to Claremont. I thought we would start off with you telling our audience something about your background.
Well, my background's kind of unique, and for people who don't know me yet, I was born and grew up in communist China and survived the Mao's Cultural Revolution, which is 1966 to 1976. My parents were illiterate workers class, and we lived in a very poor, high crime neighborhood. And I'm the oldest 3 children they had, and that was in Chengdu, Sichuan province, which is next to Tibet. And then I graduated. I went to college to study law when I was 17. Because I was looking for truth after Mao's death, like I think a rule of law is better than rule of man. After I realized he was a human being who made a mistake, who, was tyrant, and so I went to study law. And in my law school, 4 years, I met a foreign student from the United States, told me about United States of America. And now, hey, we have Constitutional Day coming up, and I will tell you it is exactly the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution he told me about and brought me to this country, because he put individual rights and liberty in my mind. I never heard of that before. And so when the time comes, I got my law degree and worked as a faculty member for 3 years, and I left China at the age of almost 24, and that was 1988. So that's my background, and then my story in the U.S. later is just like a non-awakening process to learn about my new country, to learn English, to pay for bills, to raise family, and and start my own business. And so I wasn't political until about 20 years later, after I woke up totally in this country, got rid of my indoctrination from China.
This isn't the first time you've been running for this office, is it?
I ran last year as one of the Republican candidates in City 2. Unfortunately, I did not have lots of money. I did not win this seat. I finished primary with 25% of the top 3 candidates. And people discovered me almost like last week of the primary to say, who is that Chinese American lady? And they voted for me. I was actually very happy. I finished strong, 3rd place at 25%, and people resonated with my messages as a communism survivor, as somebody who really loved this country and appreciated the individual rights, liberty that we have, and clearly specified in the Constitution, in Declaration of Independence. So people said, hey, they were very encouraging. They said, we hope you will run again. We're going to keep all your signs, keep all your materials. And I feel like it is my calling. Why not? Because I'm a very unique candidate. I'm the only one right now running as Republican in the country who actually was born and grew up in communist China. So I hope people will, give me a look and check out my website, lilytangwilliams.com.
Great. The federal government touches the lives of people in Claremont in a couple of different ways. We have unfunded educational mandates. We have the federal minimum wage. We have the overseas deployment of the New Hampshire National Guard. I was wondering, what policies would you pursue when you're elected to Congress to address these or other federal level issues?
Mm-hmm. When I become a U.S. citizen, I had the option to join different parties, and I studied parties' platform, and I decided to join Republican Party as a citizen because I just remember this one sentence that really got me to join Republican Party. It says, advocate for small, limited government. I mean, I just survived China. I like our federal government to be small and limited in its powers, in its scope. I basically want the government to leave me alone. So have that ideology, and I believe, let's talk about education. I believe in local control of education and parental control. I have been talking about to people, the number one bill I would like to co-sponsor or sponsor is actually to abolish the federal Department of Education. So that way, that you will not have mandates from federal government. Everything goes back to the state, let better the parents and local school district to decide, what curriculum their kids want to study. Should we focus on math, science, reading and writing, or should we focus on something else? Of course, require parents actively get involved in local school board education and their children's education. And that way, we don't have to worry about federal government mandates, right? And the second one, you're talking about economy. And I would prefer free market, free enterprise system, which attract me to come to this country instead of a central planning. The Chinese Communist Party always had a 5-year plan, a 10 years plan, and it was disastrous. I mean, under Mao's China, I was starving, even though everybody worked for the state 6 days a week. But there's no productivity. There was no competition. Everything was one brand and government brand. And we were living on food rationing coupons. Our life were not better because of communism, but we were equally poor, equally miserable, and equally hungry, except if your parents were high levels of Communist Party official positions, then they get lots of food supply. They even get the gifts from people who want to bribe them. But my parents were at the bottom of the food chain, so I like to say we unleash the free market, free enterprise spirit of this great country. We have the largest economy, and we need to practice more that the free market system instead of the government. Federal government has been interfering in our economy and have lots of red tape and always want to, have a higher taxes, more money for federal government to do their pet project, to buy votes sometimes. It's hurting people because New Hampshire people right now, according to the survey, 41% of New Hampshire granted stated to say their financial condition today, they feel like it's worse than even last year. Inflation and everything's going up, and all the energy costs and food costs, and but the people who retired on fixed income, and where do they get the extra money to pay for all this stuff? So I feel very sympathetic towards the people who don't have much, because I grew up that way. I was always looked down on. My parents were looked down on by people who have power, who have money. We had nothing. And I want to be that person to really to be close to the people instead of close to the special interests and to vote for their bills. So my philosophy is always, let us free the economy, control government overspending, trying to balance the budget, and pay off our national debt, unleash this, the greatest entrepreneur spirit of all Americans. I am self-employed. After I came to this country, I had nothing, $100, couldn't speak English. I was in the debt, $1,200. When I got laid off 2000 as a corporate manager, I started my own business. And the first 8 years, I was not profitable, relying on my husband for one income to raise 3 children, paying for mortgages. But now I have a profitable business, and I always believe in that when people are left alone and cut the red tape to minimum, and the people keep more what they earn, then our country will be, having fantastic economical growth, and the people's life will be improved, will be better, and we don't have to rely on federal government for lots of things. They need to just get out of the way. You mentioned about federal also on the National Guard thing, right? I think there's a bill they're talking about defend the guards or something like maybe New Hampshire can work on that to pass that bill to say, hey, you know what, we don't want the federal government to decide where they're going to send our National Guards, and it should belong to the state. So I'm very open-minded to that. And by the way, my foreign policy and philosophy is that, our military purpose is to defend United States. It's, our borders not secured, and our military should be only used to, protect people, to protect our borders. And I don't trust the government at the federal level to decide what wars we're going to fight. The Congress is supposed to declare, debate what is absolute war we have to get involved in. But the Congress has not done that job for a long time, since World War II. They have not really take, to take that duty seriously. Only Congress shall declare war and debate, have an open debate, listen to their people first. And so we're not going to running around the world and, and get involved with other countries unnecessarily, and where our own people are suffering. So that's where, I stand. And of course, I'm open-minded to listen to other people who might have different ideas.
Two of the third rail issues at the federal level are Social Security and abortion. And abortion in particular was a big rallying cry for some of the candidates in our last election. I was wondering, what sort of federal policies would you propose to deal with those issues?
Well, abortion, I have said many times, it's no longer a federal issue. It's a state issue now. So in New Hampshire, I respect grand legislators are going to decide through their representative government what kind of abortion laws they ought to have. Right now, we have 6 months, legal abortion up to 6 months. After that, then it's late-term abortion, it's banned with exceptions. I just said, hey, you know what? It's not my job at the federal level. I will not vote for or against whatever bills come up on this issue. The Supreme Court justice took some actually risks, facing lots of threats to overturn, the Roe v. Wade, given back to state, and we should respect that decision. We still have a separation of powers. Once the Supreme Court decides that, then the federal government should stay out of the way. Let the people of our state to decide. You say the Social Security. I know I heard lots of attacks on Republican candidates last year on this issue. I always tell people, can count on me to actually protect Social Security. I'm very sympathetic toward our citizens who retired, put all their lifetime savings into Social Security. Hopefully they will have some minimum, guarantee to get back. And we absolutely got to protect and Social Security and Medicare that people pay into. And of course, we need to mind the federal government has this tendency to use that Social Security trust fund for other spending. It's like, don't touch that money. That's the people's money who pay into through their lifetime work. And if something happens, there's no lockbox fund there, who should we blame? Blame federal government. So, but I can tell people publicly, I will protect our senior citizens Social Security and Medicare, because I respect their hard work through a lifetime and savings and working years to have their benefits. It's the benefit we need to protect, and they deserve to have them.
The next hurdle you face in this race is the Republican primary next September, well, not this September, but in September of 2024.
Right.
There are 2 other candidates already announced, and I was wondering if you could place yourself and your positions in relation to them.
Yes, there are 2 candidates filed with FEC.gov to run in City 2. I actually only know one of them. I don't know another person, but I
think
just
they
checked.
are, let me just check their names.
Mark, I think
Mark Kilbane and Jason Riddle.
Yes, I actually don't know either of them very well. Of course, I always welcome competition. I'm very confident of my own messages and policies will gain traction, and they have not filed any money they raised. Because I have name recognition from last time, 25%. I also was able to raise money last year, just not as much as I would like to have. And so far, last quarter, according to the bank account, we have for my campaign Lady for Congress committee, I have, I think, $63,000 according to last quarter. So when you raise money less than $5,000, you don't have to report it. Mm-hmm. So I assume they have not raised the money over $5,000 yet. And I'm continue to raise money. Right. And because I think if grassroots people really like me to defeat the socialist policies at the federal level, to really be close to the people, because I truly believe the government's supposed to be, for the people, by the people, of the people, not a special interest, and not just so ideological party hacks. And I think the people, grassroots people, will donate. I did not have 1 PAC last year. I did not have 1 TV ads last year because I did not have money. But the people liked my messages. I still got a very good affiliation. So I'm asking grassroots people, if you like me, I do ask people, everybody donate $10, $20 just to show grassroots support for Lily Tang Williams, an immigrant who came here with nothing, is living her American dream. We trust her to represent us in the U.S. House to speak for us. And we might not agree on every policy issue, but I always ask people to trust me. I will tell you the truth. I will not sell out. I will not be corrupted. And I will be totally transparent and explain my votes to you. And I will come back when Congress is not in session, have 4 offices conducting town halls, so everybody can come to ask me questions and ask me why I voted for certain ways. And I will listen to their concerns, their issues, because I'm supposed to represent the people of the 2nd Congressional District.
One of the unique characteristics of the New Hampshire election process is the way that we can switch registration for literally the duration of casting the vote. And I think in the past, this has created a situation wholly outside the conception of the people who put together the electoral system, in which people from the other party, and this works both ways, will switch their registration long enough to vote for a candidate from the other party that they're confident can be defeated. And I was wondering if you think this is going to be a factor in the upcoming election against, I believe, Annie Custer, who will be the opponent in the general election.
Well, I think according to our state constitution, we have open primary, and people can come in to vote. Yep. And if they're independent. And I'm not aware that it has passed or not to say you must register as a party member at least for 30 days before you can take that ballot from that party. I don't think.
That was a proposal, but it wasn't passed. So the way the law stands now, you can walk in, change your registration, cast your vote, and literally on your way out of the polling station, change your registration back.
Well, I have not really, keep up with that. I think that the state constitution right now allows people to come in the same day to register to vote. And I think that people have a freedom of association. We need to have maybe more debate about this. But if you pass something that the Supreme Court is going to strike that down and stick to the original state constitution, then what we can do is limited. So, but I do respect election is a state issue. How we're going to keep our elections honest, reliable, truly represent people of New Hampshire voices, and then it's up to people to decide. The party, it's also a private organization. Their members can vote, can decide, but still you have some check and balances. So I'm going to leave at the state level to decide.
The primary election, excuse me, that you'll be running in actually happens a couple of months after, actually 1 month after
45 days?
the Republican National Convention.
Oh, after. Oh.
So I was wondering what you thought the impact might be of the selection of the presidential candidate for the Republican Party might have on your prospects in the primary.
Well, I get asked that question or not. I go, which presidential candidate do you like or do you support, not like? I always tell people, I am so busy focused on my own campaign, my own messages, my own stories to win people over to support me. And I stay neutral on all presidential candidates. I will support our nominee as a Republican and campaign together if it's needed. But I trust the people of New Hampshire to decide on my own merit, because I truly believe that the New Hampshire people are very welcoming to me. I talk about American dream a lot. My campaign is about, keep our American dreams alive, but everybody might explain that differently. To me, as an immigrant, American dream means to me is freedom, prosperity, and rule of law, meritocracy, free speech, and privacy rights, all those good stuff that I feel are American ideals I really adore and love. Quite the opposite what I survived in China. The government just own you and constantly will tell you what to do and how to think, how much to eat, and if you dare to speak up anti-government, your social credit score will be very low and you cannot travel. And I totally just opposed to that. So that's why I always believe in individual rights and liberty. If I can connect with people at the grassroots level, regardless who is our nominee, and I want people to check me out. Lily is her own person, and she's not really that partisan because lots of independents like me. And I want our country to be more united, not polarized, divided. And the media, social media, should take some responsibility for that also. Because, under Mao, he divided Chinese people into oppressor versus oppressed, 5 black classes, which are enemies of state, then we supposed to hate as the 5 red classes of families, so different categories. And that was horrible for all the Chinese because his cultural revolution, by doing identity group politics, destroyed ancient old Chinese culture, destroyed the private properties, and destroyed the families. And our kids were weaponized in China at that time to be red guards, to do violence, to turn on their families, their neighbors, and report to the authorities if they hear somebody who says something kind of a little bit different from the official, party's narratives. I saw that with my own eyes. I don't want that here. I said, you know what? I don't care about what party you belong to. I want us to sit down, have several conversations about what we would like to have as Americans, and where is our common ground. We can be civil, we can work together to achieve good things. When you actually talk about issues, I think 70% of Americans can be quite, common. Like we all want the same things. Our kids do well in schools, and parents are controlling their family lives, their children's education. We want a higher standard of living instead of getting poor. See, that's why some of those federal policies are making people poor today. More worried about their retirement, and worried about their kids cannot afford to take a mortgage to buy a house, and worried about, their American dream is not going to be there for their children. And how sad is that? Like when you leave this world, your children will be actually worse off than you. I don't want that. I have 3 young adult children. That's why I say that mom is actually telling my stories and working very hard to get my message out, running for office, because I want to keep America as a free country I came here for, and also that their American dream will be well and life, and then they will only be judged by the content of their characters, and not by their skin color, by their race. And we need to be nice, kind to everybody. This is a great country when you talk about all men are created equal, individual rights and liberty. What a concept. I never heard that in China. For 24 years I lived there. It was all collective rights. So I love this country. And I love, the Grand Estate. I come here because it's a motto, live free or die. I connect with that instantly. I always chase freedom in my life. That's why I left, Colorado, because I saw a changing coming. Mm-hmm. It was really turning, and I'm glad I really left. And I come here 4 years ago to New Hampshire. I love it so far. So I want to get back to the country I love and get back to the New Hampshire, the great state I love.
You mentioned that social media companies had some responsibility for trying to bring together people and create unity. How do you think they can do that without the sort of shadow banning and other things that we've seen in the past? And what role do you see for the government in bringing that about?
Well, the problem is that we have a constitution. The government cannot censor free speech. So they went to the back door. The federal government, Biden's federal government administration did go back door to collude with big tech, big social media companies to censor United States citizens. I was shadow banned according to the algorithm. I don't know, whenever I post something anti-communism, anti-CCP, I have 25,000 people follow me on my public Facebook page called Lily for Liberty. I get 10 likes. It's like, but if I cook Chinese food and put on my Facebook, I get sometimes 1,000 likes. So you can tell my political messages were shadow banned. So I'm more effective now on Twitter as Lily for Liberty, after Elon Musk purchased Twitter. Mm-hmm. So now I have like 45,000 people follow me there, and I'm more active there. I'm no longer active on Facebook. And for my campaign messages, it just doesn't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. My campaign video on Facebook page, it just stopped as like a 600, 550 views. It just stopped. It just will not fit to the people who follow me. It just stopped, period.
Wow.
And so I said, well, I never dreamed about coming to a free country that I have to self-censor. Maybe I should not post this because Facebook will not like it and other people will not say it. It's terrible. And I want to be able to say whatever I think, because free speech is one of my top 3 campaign issues. Because if without free speech, you cannot think freely. And you cannot have open debates and free expression of ideas and discussions. And then you cannot get to the truth. So you let the government, officials, you let the social media, company to decide what is truth, what is not. what is misinformation, what is not. How come we people, so we, like in China, we call we the common people, don't have right to decide at all, what we think is the truth? Who decides what the truth is, right? So this is very worrisome, and I follow the Twitter files a lot, and during the pandemic, even during the election year 2020, how much is they censored the information? Hunter Biden laptop information was censored from the federal government to tell social media company because it was a presidential election year, and lots of truth, scientists, doctors' point of view on early COVID treatment and potential side effects of vaccines all were censored, so people did not know. And now we start to discover how many doctors were censored. I even did not know the Great Barrington Declaration talk about earlier like a separation, like protect the senior citizens who were more vulnerable, and do not lock down the economy, let the young people continue to go on with their lives, but just be more careful. So they were talking about focused protection. I did not know about that declaration until 1 year later, because they were censored by our health officials and collude with media companies. This is terrifying to me. I'm absolutely supporter of free speech, especially the speech you might not agree, I might even hate, but I will defend your right to say it. And so anything legal you can say as a citizens, you should be able to say it, but don't expect me to cheer for you, to agree with you. That's exactly the point. People have right to say something. It's stupid, it's dumb, it's not politically correct. We just have to respect their right to say it, right? And don't attack each other over that.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Is there anything else you'd care to share with our audience?
Well, if people like my campaign messages, I welcome you to follow me on Twitter. Facebook is not so effective, but I am on Facebook and Instagram. I have my own YouTube channel too, called Lily Tang Williams, where I interviewed a lot of immigrants who fled totalitarian regimes, who come on my channel to share same worries they have about their new country they love. So I welcome you to check out my YouTube channel. I hope they are not censored. And of course, my website, lilytangwilliams.com. We are organizing volunteers across the state, and we're asking people to donate as a grassroots citizen to show support. And also you can subscribe, just get a campaign update on my website, so lilytangwilliams.com. And thank you very much. It's great to meet everybody here online.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Lily. We have been speaking with Lily Tang Williams, who is a candidate for the Congressional District 2 House of Representatives. And this has been Your Candidates, a production of the Claremont Media Center, and I am your host, Kevin Tyson.